All right. Welcome back, everybody. We are now, I believe, on session 5 of our live coding series, building a craft beer cataloging application with React Native, Expo. We're here learning RecoilJS, which is why we set out to do this. I really wanted to learn Recoil, figure I'd code, and let people just watch along and follow. We're now 5 sessions in. I'm definitely enjoying the live coding, going to keep up with it. I've talked about this on the past few streams. You know, it was kind of just a way for me to get started and see how things were going, but definitely into it. Going to keep going with it. Going to keep going. Oh, we got Clam Watson in the chat. Wagwan. Yeah, for real. So we're sticking to the schedule. Tuesdays, 9 p.m. Eastern time to 11 p.m. We're going to have more one-off sessions coming up. We're going to get through this series, kind of get it to where we want it to be with our designs. We were able to try out Recoil, maybe get a little more into that, but then do some more one-off sessions. So we have one planned where I will be building a portfolio site for myself. I don't have one. Building a quick one with Gatsby.js, so it'll be a quick one-off, probably like a one series thing or one session thing where we put together a portfolio site, basic site. Also planning on doing one where we implement a memoize function, which will be awesome. We've used memoize on this application, but we really thought it'd be cool to create our own. So we'll be doing that. But yeah, so today we'll be continuing with the Brewbook application. Where we left off yesterday, or last week, where we left off last week was we got async storage working, and that allowed us to persist our beers not only in our native mobile app, but also in our web app. So it gave us out-of-the-box support for both web and native, which has been fantastic. We then started to finally get that crappy-looking design out there and start implementing the design that we actually had planned. So that's where we left off, did a little bit of that. So we'll pick up right there where we left off. And today what I'm hoping to get to is a little more into the design, get it looking pretty slick. We added that splash screen. We added the icons. Looking okay. It's looking pretty good. But we need to get the brew screen looking nice and then start adding more to our form. One of the things in our design that you'll see in a second is the ability to upload a photo, right? We want to see what this beer looks like. We want to see the label so you can recognize it in a store. You want to see what kind of color it is to know if it's kind of up to your standards or whatever your palate's into. And then we actually also wanted to add a rating. And we were thinking about pulling in a component for that, an open source library to handle the rating system. So we'll see how far we can get into that. We'll probably start with the image because I think that might be a little more interesting than the rating. Let's see how far we get. All right, we're going to go ahead and dive in. So let's switch over here. I have my VS Code open. I just want to go back to my designs and show everyone what we're going to be working with here. So again, this is where we're trying to get. You'll see in a second where we're at. And this is kind of what I want to do today is see if we can get this button. Maybe we'll start out with just like a button that just says add image so we can hit up the API and see if it works. Oh, what up, Doe's in the chat? Hey, thanks for stopping by. Always happy to have my buddies. So Clam Watson and Doe's, we play video games together in my Discord. So awesome. Thanks for joining in. It's gonna be sweet. So yeah, so today let's see if we can get this image upload working. I'm interested to see how it plays with the web version. I've done it with the native version. I know how that's going to work. I'm not sure how it's going to work in the simulator. I kind of forget how that plays out. But I'm interested to see if that API will actually work on web and if it'll just end up being like a file upload, which would be really slick. I have no idea. Haven't done it. Again, pretty new to the Expo web portion of things. But we saw that async storage worked on both. So, it might happen. All right. So let's go ahead and start up our app and see where we left off. I actually have the server running. Got that in advance. You can see it here. Again, we got our sick barcode. You scan that. Well, you can't. You're not on my network. But if you were on my network and you scan that with the Expo app, you could get the app. And I actually could hook this up to local tunnel. So if we ever did want to try that, they now have support for local tunnel built in. So you actually could scan this wherever you are and have the app running. But what we're going to do is we're going to open up the web one first. Kind of see what that looks like. Whoa. So you can see we got that initial background. So we have this kind of thing going on. we wanted to color the tabs. We ran into a snag last time. I've actually figured out how to do that, so we can actually color those tabs now, which would be slick. But I also want to see what this looks like on mobile, because you'll notice right off the bat, I don't know if we talked about this last time or touched on it. I don't think we did. You probably noticed, though, if you're watching it. The actual tabs here look a bit different, right? So this is the web one. So you can see we have a left-aligned title. The tabs on the bottom are the same. And as you stretch, it kind of, it stretches fine. But it still has like kind of a mobile feel. But you'll notice the header on the actual native app is different. So let me pull that up. And the reason for that is with React Navigation, they're trying to get to a point where they actually have a bit of a, they have a styling difference, right? Web should be different than mobile. They're different use cases. So it's actually getting there. There's a little work we'll have to do on our end to make like the tabs work. We'll probably want to shift those to like a side nav. They don't really make sense as a tab. I mean, they're not terrible, but yeah, it's like you go there and you're like, whoa, looks like a stretched out mobile view, which we want to optimize for. So hopefully we'll do that. All right, so I'm loading up my iOS simulator. We'll see what we get here. So this is going to load up. And what's going to happen is the Expo app on the iOS simulator is going to kick in. See, there we go. It's going to load up our page. We should see our splash screen in just a second. Look at that. That's a Teku glass. I got one here. It's pretty sick. Great glass for beer drinking. If you come across a Teku, pick it up. Phenomenal. I've actually dropped mine off my standing desk, and it was unharmed. Not to say that that's gonna be everyone's experience, but it's just a sturdy build. Little give to it so it doesn't crack. Fantastic glass. Drake and Brooklyn Brewery Summer Boys. Woo! Dude, Brooklyn Summers, they're my wife's favorite, and they're right up there for one of my favorite summer brews. So good. I like Brooklyn Summer, and I like Victory Summer. I also like Sam Summer. Some of the summer beers get a little too into like the shandy area where they're like lemon juice, and I do not like that. But Brooklyn Summer is like just a classic like summer lager, and I really like Victory Summer. Good stuff. Earlier, I had a Berliner Weiss from Jug Handle, located in New Jersey. It is part of their Sour Wheel series. It was blackberry and key lime. Awesome. Very good. Yeah, definitely one of the great summer brews. Another great summer brew, High Life. You heard it. High Life. It's delicious. All right, so what's happening now is it's bundling the JavaScript. That's why we're seeing that notification there. There we go. There's our app. So check it out. Here's what I was talking about. See how the header here is in the center, and on the web one, it's on the left. We're not going to really mess with that too much, but I just wanted to point out that there is a difference when you render them. So it's pretty cool. All right, so one of the things I want to do is I want to style this bottom tab nav to match this color here. So what I'm going to do is in Figma, which is what I've been using to do designs. I've mentioned this on a past few series, but I've been really enjoying Figma. It's a lot like Sketch, but it's web-based. They do have a native app. I haven't used it. But if you're comfortable with Sketch, you should be right at home with this. And we use it at my office for work. So, my designers, when they're done, the designer will hand over a Figma file, and it's really easy to work with. I have a fantastic designer who I get to work with on my team who's introduced me to Figma and introduced our whole team to Figma. It's been great. All right, so let's see. What I'm looking for here is I want this thing right here, like the tab, which I think is just the background, actually. Yeah, so that's what's happening. So it's actually just the bottom color of our background. So what I can do is I can just click this. You'll see here I have the linear fill. It might be a little small for you to see. If I zoom, unfortunately, it zooms the whole thing. So let me see if I can do this. No. Sorry. Okay, so I'm just going to grab the bottom color, which in this case is this one, FF504. Let's grab that. And I want to style the bottoms of this tab, this thing here. And so the way we do that is within our React navigation, we can customize our tab. I was trying to do this last time. I ran into some issues figuring out where to put it. I since figured it out based on the documentation. But so we have our bottom tab options. It goes in here. It just actually is the style prop. So we could say style, and then we can provide it like a classic camel cased styling like we would with any React Native component. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say background color, and I will provide it a string of that. So let's save that, and let's see. Bam. Awesome. Now it looks kind of bad because our brew and add brew are like gray, so it's a little tough to see, right? So one thing we can do is we can adjust those to match like a nicer color. So right now, our active color, which is this, that's when we click it. Our active color is like a darker gray. Actually, it might be colorblind. It might be blue, but either way, it's tough to see. So let's adjust that, and let's make the inactive color white, which I think... Okay, so we actually want our active color to be like a yellow and our inactive to be like a very light gray. Let's do that. Let's try to make that happen. We don't yet have the icons. We just have those silly icons for now. We'll get some good icons in there. But for now, let's make those color changes. So first, let me grab the color that this is. So that is this vector here. And the color on that is this. Let's pull that. Let's go over here. And it's part of the way it's working right now is it's actually pulling from our color scheme. So we have a hook called use color scheme that Expo actually scaffolded for us. We didn't write that. And what that's going to allow us to do is have different color schemes. We can have dark mode. So if you're on, let's say you're on a Mac device and you have your Mac defaulted to dark and your Chrome defaulted to dark mode, we can actually pull that from the browser and know which mode you have and adjust our theme accordingly. You'll see websites doing this now a lot. So if you've been using dark mode in Chrome, you may see some websites actually will adapt to whatever your settings are. And now that Mac has it built into their operating system, you'll see some apps adapt to that. So it does give us that option. So you can see here we're pulling in use color scheme from React Native. And right now it's just this is just exposing the hook. But so what we want to do is we want to find where our colors are based on the color scheme. And so that comes from constant colors. And there's two color schemes. You'll see in a second once I pull up this file. Light and dark. So those are the default keys there. So light and dark. And tint is what we're currently using for this. See, color scheme, tint. So we have tint color light, tint color dark. Let's modify this for tint color light, which is what we're seeing here. Sorry, here. This is tint color light. Let's change that to be the yellow and see what happens. All right. Bam. Okay, so we have that yellow. Cool. But we have this other one. We need to figure out what color this is. This is like the default tab color. So if you look here at what we're doing with our tab bar options, you can see there's no option right now for this is just the active one, right? We need like the regular one. You can see we have our icon. That's our tab bar icon, and that accepts a color. And you can see, in our case, it's actually adopting the color of whatever the active tint color is. So let's check our tab bar options and see if we could provide just a regular tint color. Maybe it's just tint color. I don't know. Let's find out. Those, I love those beer mugs. They remind me of, oh, I guess they're Hearts. Are they Hearthstone beer mugs? They're pretty sweet. Okay, so let's go to React Navigation and look at our tab bar options. So look, even here they have light mode, dark mode. I think it defaulted to dark because my Chrome is in dark mode. So I'm going to pull up, nice, yeah, Hearthstone. I actually never played Hearthstone, but, you know, our mutual friend Todd, aka Part-Time Lover 13, who's been in this chat, but also is in our Discord, he played a lot of that game. Tab bar options. Inactive tint color. Bam, I didn't even need to search it. Wow, look at that. So let's do that. Let's add inactive tint color. And let's add a new color to our theme here. So let's change, let's do this. Let's add another color. Let's just call it like, let's be very specific. Inactive tint color. And for this, let's see what we want to use. I want to use this color. E8D8D8. Sounds like a droid from Star Wars. Let's do that. Okay. Inactive tint color. And what we'll do is okay, so they have tab icon selected, tint color light. Okay, so we can actually, let's do this. We can change tint color light and see and actually change what we're using for tab icon selected, because I also see this tab icon default, which is being used here. Let's try changing these first. So here's what I want to do. I'm going to change, we've already changed Tint Color Light to be that. I want to change tab icon default. I want to create a new one too. Let's call it, well, for now, let's call it tab icon default. And let's see if it actually adjusts that. What we're going to do is we'll get rid of this here. So we have a constant for it, and then we can reuse it if we need to. Let's do the same thing here. Obviously, we're going to want to change it for the dark mode, but for now, let's do this. All right, let's see what we get. Okay, so it didn't change that. So it doesn't look like we're actually using tab icon default, but what we can do is we can change our thing to use it. So instead of using tint here, let's change this to use tab icon selected, and let's change the other one to use tab icon default. And let's also see where these are being used, because I think they're probably being used to color those icons. So here, so what we're gonna do here is we're gonna change this from active tint color to tab icon selected, so that it matches our icon and our text. We want them to match. And inactive, we're gonna copy this and we're gonna do tab icon default. And for tab icon default, we're gonna have this color. And now what I wanna do is I wanna see where else this tab icon selected was being used. So I'm just gonna do a global search and bam. Well, that's where we just used it. So I guess it wasn't being used. Okay, so let's see what it looks like now. Perfect. So we have our yellow and we have our light. That's exactly what we want. Let's see if we can get those icons in there. That'd be cool, right? So icons are interesting. I'm sure if any of you have done stuff, you have to pick from many icon libraries. You have like ionicons, you have the material icons, you have the Apple, whatever they are, Cupertino icons. I'm not sure even what they call them anymore. iOS icons. So there's a bunch. With Expo though, we get the benefit of having some icons built in for us to pull in. So let me show what that looks like. Again, we're gonna go to the Expo docs, fantastic docs. Keep them open if you're using it, just really nice. So let's just click, let's search icons, and let's go to this. So you have Expo compatible libraries, but let's go to the documentation. So the compatible libraries show you libraries that are open source libraries that are compatible with Expo, that are easy to pull in, don't require any kind of native modules or linking. They just kind of work right out of the box. We're gonna check out vector icons. And so you can see here, let me zoom in a little bit so it's nice and easy to see what's going on. So here what they do is they pull in ionicons. So that's one of the ones I mentioned. And you can browse all the icons using this. Let's check this out. Whoa, this looks like an Expo app. I bet it is. I bet this is an Expo app. I'm gonna look for beer. Oh, nice. That's it. I think that's exactly the one I'm using. I think that's actually, you know, I probably got it from here, to be totally honest. But perfect. That's exactly what we need. Okay, so this one is, look at that. They show you exactly how to use it. How fantastic is that? You gotta love Expo, man. They are just great. So let's do this. Let's pull this one in. Copy that. So first, we might have to install Expo vector icons. Let's take a look. No, we don't. It's already there. I always peek just in case. Okay, so let's pull those in. So let's get rid of this. I should have thought that it had been used. I think we already pulled it in. Yeah, ionicons. So we're going to pull in material icons. Let me see where this is being used. We can just get rid of it. Okay, so this is being used as the tab bar icon. And this is being used by here. Okay, so yeah, so it's pulling in ionicon. So what we'll do instead is we'll change it to use, instead of the ionicon, we'll change it to use this. And we'll have a specific icon for each of these. So we'll modify this. We don't need to deal with this too much. All this is doing is it's creating a generic component for the tab bar icon, letting us specify the name, the color, and it has some default styling. We could still do that because all it's doing is rendering its props. But let's let's play with, instead of the ionicons, let's use the material community icons. So I can just delete this. And then instead of ionicon, like I said, we're going to use material community icons. Long name, but kind of cool. And then you can see here, you know, name, color. The name is beer. Very easy. Now for the other one, again, so in my design, I have, for the second tab, I have breweries. We didn't implement that yet. We will. But right now, all we have is like add brew. So maybe we'll just for now change it to a plus, just to make it easy. So let's look up what that would be. So maybe add to list. I think that could be good. That could be a good one. Just plain add. Let's go with this. I like this. iOS ads. That comes from ionicons. Let's see what comes from material icons. That'd be easy. Add circle. Let's use that for now. So let's go to here and change this to add circle. All right, now let's see what we got. Okay, so couldn't find add circle. Let's see why not. Material icons. Okay, different one. I'm using material community icons. Let me see what that is. Material community icons. Okay, no big deal. We can just import from material icons as well. We just would have to change this. So let me do a check really quick. Let's look at material community icons. Let's go to that list. Oh, here's an issue about using, interesting. Huh. Okay, let's see. I wonder if there's just docs on this. Let me see if I can, maybe I can just filter by, filters, here we go. Perfect. That's what I want. And there's not one for add. Let's see if there's one for plus symbol. Perfect. This looks like we might be able to pull a plus symbol from here. Plus box, plus circle. Nice. Okay, let's go with plus circle. That's the same thing anyway. It looks exactly the same. Plus circle. Okay, let's see what that looks like. Perfect. So here we have our yellow beer. And we go to add. We get our yellow add. Go back. Very cool. We're on iOS, so we can, in some cases, we could probably enable a tab to go back, which would be kind of cool. All right, so we have our beers here. We have those beers that we added last time. We can see they were persisted. We have our add brew page. This is looking better. Let's do this top bar now. Let's get that to be orange, and then we'll jump into adding that image and actually able to do this part of it where we import an image. That'll be really fun. And then we'll slowly add more to this, and we'll style this page as well. So the top bar, in this case, we just don't have a top bar. So maybe, we could get rid of it. But for now, what we'll try to do is just make it match. We'll make it like kind of go along with this gradient. So we'll go with the top color here, like that light yellow color. So what I'll do for that is I'll just select this. Any of my artboards that have that gradient. In this case, my frame 3 should have it. And if I click that, oh, sorry, not frame 3. We want frame, this one, the first one. Here we go. There we go, 8.1. I gotta reorganize this. So this has this gradient. I'm gonna click here. I'm gonna click the first color, and we will grab that color. So it's right here. It's this. I'm gonna copy that. And what I need to figure out is how to style that top nav. So what I'll do for that is I'll look over here. This is how we styled the bottom navigation. But what's giving us that top navigation is actually one of the nested navigators. So I'll show you what that is. So here we have a stack navigation. And the stack navigation is what's providing us that title there. So what I'm going to try to do, and we'll see if this works, it might not. I'm going to try changing it in the options here. So let me just look up though really quick before I do that. let's see how we can do that. So what we're looking for here is Stack Navigator. Stack Navigator. And we want to see what options we can provide to a Stack Navigator. So you can see this is what a Stack Navigator is designed to do, to provide you that stacking ability. The last app that I built for, actually not the last app, but the app before that I built for my previous company that we deployed in production for Android and iOS, used a Stack Navigator for doing this type of navigation. And we had the ability to swipe to go back, and we got all of that out of the box from Expo. So it was absolutely awesome. And even in that app, we actually also had a nested tab navigator. Doze knows because he worked at the company with me. So yeah, it was really fun working with. So let's see how we can add the options. So we have screen options. These are the default options used for the screen navigator. Here's options. So we have title, header. That's what this is, header title. Let's see, can we change the styling? Let's do a search. Header style. All right, let's try header style. And let's try the background color trick. And what we'll do, you'll notice that I'm hard coding a lot of these colors in here. What we'll want to do is probably put these colors in our colors constant. In fact, we'll definitely want to do that. And the reason for that is it allows us to switch between our themes. It keeps it all in one place. But for now, let's just go with this, just so we can get things working. Let's see if this actually works. Before I do this, let me change this to color. Sweet. All right. There we go. It looks kind of funky. It looks like it's pretty interesting. It's a little light. It looks almost like an odd yellow. I'm not really a huge fan of that yellow. I'm actually gonna change it slightly. I'm gonna instead of using that, I'm gonna use something in the middle-ish, like that, just because I'm not a huge fan of that yellow. Looks a little highlightery. Oh yeah, the good old days. All right, so let's see what this looks like. All right, I like that better. Obviously, it's still a little awkward, but you know, we're not designers here. We're just trying to get a kind of like a fun, funky beer app going. Okay, that's enough for the styling portion of it. We'll dive more into that later. Let's get to the meat of things here, and let's modify our add brew to upload an image. Now, I don't know how this is going to go. We're going to learn together. That's what we're here for. I'm learning while I go, and you're following along. So thanks for that. All right, so let's look at Expo. Let's just do a search for image upload. Picking an image. Image picker. I think this is exactly what we want. Yes. It's very zoomed in. I think you should be able to see like that. If it's too small in the chat, just let me know. All right, let's see. The Expo image picker provides access to the system's UI for selecting images and videos from the phone's library or taking a photo with the camera. All right, again, I don't know if this is going to work with the web version. We'll find out. To use Expo image, we need to first install it. So let's do that. Let's install it first. So I'm just going to stop my server. I probably don't need to do this. I just like to do it so that I'm making sure when I start my server, everything's loaded in that needs to be loaded in. Running a quick npm install. I'm going to kick back over to the docs while that's happening. Whoa, sorry about that. All right, so we're installing it there. And let's look. With the library installed in our project, we can now actually use it, obviously. All right, so what do we got going on? So we import image picker. We asynchronously open the image picker. Okay, we're going to probably do that after you click a button. It looks like they're doing that too, so perfect. Permission results. Okay, this is cool. So it's going to request camera roll permission. Good, we don't want to be creepy. If the permission is granted, if it's not granted, throw an error, obviously. Otherwise, launch image library async and then log the result. Yo, this looks really easy. Let's see if that's the truth. Let's just try it out. So I'm gonna essentially just copy this. It's the beauty of this stuff, right? I got my thing installed. Let me run npm start. I'm gonna toss this in our form. So remember we have our, sorry about that. We have our add brew screen. Let me go ahead and close some of this other stuff to clear up some space so we can see what we're working with here. I like to usually keep 2 tabs open. I'm sure you've noticed that in our series. That's because I like to, usually I'm viewing 2 files side by side. But in this case, let's focus here on this one. All right, so I'm gonna import it. Again, I always put my folder specific stuff, so the stuff I'm importing from somewhere else, like third-party dependencies at the top, just to keep things organized. And I'm gonna just go ahead and basically copy this function and just modify it to our needs. So let me close this. Let me close this. Let me skip this breakpoint. Let me go here. Close the icons. We don't need that. Don't need that anymore. I'm gonna copy this code and we're gonna modify it a bit. So what we'll do is we're gonna change this to handle click add image, because that's what we're gonna be doing. We're gonna have like an add image button. Again, sorry, I keep hitting my mic. And what we'll do is we'll call this from an add image button. So we'll create another touchable opacity or touchable highlight button. So down here we have one for adding the brew. We have an input here. We're gonna go ahead and add another button here. So we'll copy this one. We'll change it to, we'll use like an icon box later, like we saw in our design. Again, we'll try to get to something that looks like this. We actually could probably just use a vector icon because they're SVGs. It'll scale really nicely. Should we do it? Let's do it. Let's do it. I feel like if we don't do it, we're never gonna do it. Whatever. It'll be fun. Okay, so let's go to our icons again. The thing I just closed. Let's pull it up. Okay, vector icons. I'm gonna filter. I'm gonna try to stick to those material community icons just to keep things easy. I really love this directory. This is super cool, and I definitely think they built this with Expo. So really cool. All right. I'm gonna look for add again. Nothing came up when we did add. Look for plus. See if there's like a plus image. Oh, yes, that's it. I think that's the one we want. I know it doesn't look like what we designed, but I don't know what I'm doing when I design. So that's kind of close to the design. What do you think? Let's go with that one. See, I was pretty close. Look. Come on. The mountains with the plus. I was right there. All right, let's do that. Let's definitely do that. What is it called? What is it called? What is it called? I lost it. Image plus. All right, let's do that. Let's pull an image plus. So again, I'm going to do my double screen here. I'm going to go back and get my bottom tab navigator. I'm going to copy that import, pop that over here. Going to go ahead and steal that code for the icon. Just steal that real quick. And I'm going to put that icon in the middle of our touchable highlight. So instead of a text, I'll have the icon. And for the name, it's called image plus. So here you remember we were taking a name and a color. I'm just going to hard code it here. Name equals image plus. We don't need this styling for now. We'll change that. Size. The size is going to be huge because we want it to be big. Let's just do that. We'll style this stuff in a minute. And then for color, I'm going to just import the light tint. So for that, if you remember, I can import colors from our code here. And down here, I'll say colors dot. We don't want to specify a theme. We don't want to hard code a theme. We want to dynamically pull the theme. And if you remember the way we did that here, even though we're not using the theme, we want to make sure that we can later, is using this color theme hook. So we're going to want to do that. So let's go ahead and import our use color theme hook so that we don't end up creating problems for ourselves where we go to the dark mode and everything works but this button because we hard coded it. Wouldn't make sense. It's very simple to just pull this in, so let's do it. I love that they have that color scheme folder set up in the hooks folder. It's just super nice. And so here we'll just say color scheme equals perfect. We'll go back down here. We can say colors. Again, we're going to dynamically say color scheme. And then what we want is we want that tint. Just the regular tint should be fine for now. And then for this, we're going to use, we don't actually, you know what? We don't really want to style the button. We just want it to wrap the icon. So I'm going to get rid of this and see where we end up. And on press, we don't want handle brew. We want handle click add image. We don't need that. All right, so let's see what this looks like. Okay, I don't see anything. I'm suspecting it's because we need to put some kind of styling around this. So let's do that. Let's just say style equals styles dot image upload button. And we'll create a style for that here. And we will say, let's give it a height and width, and we'll give it a background color so we can see if it's actually rendering. So for the height, we'll say, I don't know, let's joke. Let's just mess around, make something up. 30, width 30, background color. You know what I'm gonna pick already. If you don't, shame on you. Pick it every time. Tomato, the best CSS built-in color. Try to argue it. Can't. It's the best. All right, let's refresh. What's everyone in the chat? What's your favorite built-in CSS color? How about that? What a question, right? All right. Look at that. Super tiny. Our icon is 60, so let's make this 60 and see if that looks any better. And then we'll center it and all that stuff. Okay, perfect. So we want to make it the color. We want to make it the size of how we want the design to look. So what we're going to do is a few things. We're going to put it in a container so it's centered and whatever. And then we're going to make it much bigger. And we're going to change the tint because this looks like a piece of cheese on something orange. So not cool. It looks like something at Home Depot. Pure green. Just the regular green. I like it. That's a good one. That's a good one. Neon is another good one. Smoke white or white smoke. I don't remember which one it is. I think it's white smoke. Also good. But tomato's perfect. Tomato's perfect. All right. So let's do this. Ready? All right. So what we're going to do, we're going to put this in a container so that we can have it be centered and stuff like that. So what we're going to do is we'll wrap it in a view. Again, that's the standard container for React Native. And also, if you have any questions about anything I'm doing, feel free to message in the chat. I'll keep an eye on it and try to answer anything. Happy to help. I mean, I'm going through this stuff, coding, and always happy to answer any questions. So view. So we'll just give this like a style. Again, I like to type out my style. Styles dot. We'll call it what it is. It's the add image upload or image upload button container. That's usually the standard I go with. Just makes things easy. And then we'll go down here and I'll put it above the image upload button. And we're just going to standard, by default, everything's display flex. Remember, in React Native world, it's going to be flex direction column by default. So something different if you're used to web. Easy to get confused with that. But so what we'll do, and that's because of the portrait landscape mode kind of difference. So what we're going to do is we'll say, we want to make this stuff in the center and we want to add some standard padding. So we'll do a padding of 24. We will, again, it's column by default. So what we'll do is we'll justify the content center and we'll align the items center. Okay. And then for this, let's go much bigger. Let's go 120. 120. Actually, you know what we can do? Yeah, let's go with this, and then we can change. You know, for the actual icon. Well, first of all, we can get rid of our thing finally. We don't need that color anymore. And for our icon, we'll go 120 with it. Okay, let's see what that looks like. Cool, we're getting there. We're gonna up it to 240, make it double the size. Want it extra big. Perfect. It's huge. It's hilarious, but whatever. And then we wanted to change the tint. So again, that would be the color. We're using tint right now. So what we're going to use instead is we're going to use tab icon default. Perfect, which is that lighter gray. All right, now the moment of truth. Let's click it and see what happens. Expo would like access to your photos. Perfect. All right. Yo, forget about it. We're not doing it. Don't allow. No, we're going to allow it. What is it going to do in the simulator? Yo, these photos, they're not mine. I don't know whose photos they are. Let's look at them. They're built in. No, actually, I took these. This is what I do. I go out, take some sweet photos. No, those are built in the simulator. Very cool. What happened? Where'd it go, you're asking? Well, remember, we're just logging. If you look at the function here, all we're doing is logging the result. Let's take a look at the result and see if we can get the image data. All right. Where does the log show up, you might ask? Well, there's a few places. One place is here in our terminal where we're running it. And this is really cool. I want to kind of dive in and see what's going on here because I think it's pretty cool. You have the object. It has a width and a height, and that's the width and the height of the image. But check out the URI because I think this is super, super cool. It's a file URI, right? So you have, if you're going on the web and you're pulling from like S3 or you have any, if you look at right-click any image on the web, you're going to see it comes from some website, we call it like an S3 bucket or a CDN, a content delivery network. It's going to have HTTP, HTTPS / Those Boys, sick jazz pics, whatever. But here we have file, which is the file protocol. So works on desktop too. It's basically a reference to the file system. Tells your browser how to access files. And you can see where it is on my device. So look, check it out. Users test Testingsworth. That's the name of my username on here. Thought it was funny. Pretty funny. Library developer core simulator devices. Check this out. All this stuff. I don't know if any of this should be on stream. Maybe it's private. I don't know. It's not. It's fine. There's 3 people here, so don't worry. And thanks for being here. So we're going to take this and we're going to try to use this to actually display the image after we upload it inline. So let's take a look at how to use it. And I'm sure they have it on here, but basically we're just going to use it as a file URL. So they talk about here, you can see the logs, just like we just did. Oh, check it out. Look, don't look. They don't have the same photos. No, I took those. They come with the simulator, obviously. So you look here, they're going through the same thing. Very cool. Using the selected image. Woo, here's the cool part. They're setting up state to hold it, so it's going to be empty at first, then they're going to fill it. We're going to do the exact same thing. Here's the cool part. Set selected image, local URI, pick a result URI. That's the URI, that file URI. And they pop it as the source of the image. And then they just show the image. Check this out. This is exactly what we're building. Look, they have look how good these docs are. And this is an Android phone, so you can see how it differs a little bit. But look how good these docs are. Like, how cool is that? They're showing it completely used. They give you the code. How easy is that? Remember how hard it would be? I don't know if anyone else did mobile development. It was so obnoxiously hard to do this on one platform, either iOS or, if you were new to this stuff, to go to iOS and try it, and then to go to Android and try it. And then you have to write it on both, and they each have their own APIs. I mean, look at how easy this is. If you use JavaScript, this is fantastic. I'm super excited. Sorry, I gotta calm down. All right, let's do it. That's a cool picture. I don't know what they're watching on TV, but it looks pretty cool. All right, so let's do this. Let's have our selected image stuff going on. All right. let's see. We're going to do the same thing. So we're going to set up some state to hold our image. All right. We're also going to want to add the image URI to our atom so we can actually have it as part of our brew. One thing that would be cool, and we'll have to figure out how to do this, is if you look at our designs, we have thumbnails. And I don't mean to get sidetracked, but let me just go over this a little bit. It would be cool to have a smaller version of the image. We're going to have the large image, but we might want to shrink it down. And so since it's on our file system, it's no big deal. But if we were pulling this from the web, we would want to consider having different file size resolutions for the thumbnail versus the actual big image. So just something to think about. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to go over here and let's upload this. I'm so excited. Okay, so first, we want to store this in state. So in our add brew screen, again, I'm going to close this. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to create a state object to handle that, a piece of state. So let's say const brew image, set brew image. In fact, we can even just go with we could just store the URI. Let's just say we're going to set the brew image. Let's create a type for it though. The reason I think this is useful is because we want to make sure that we're setting the appropriate things, and it just gives us a little more safety. We might want to move the type. Like again, if we're using this within the atom, we might want to make it part of the brew. But for now, let's just put it here. Because again, we can always remove it. And this way we're coding it in a type safe way before we move the type. So let's say brew image. And it's going to have a URI, local URI. That's going to be a type string. It's going to have a height. It's going to be a number, a width, it's a number. And what else were we dealing with? Type, height, width, canceled. That's all we need for now. And so we can specify here that it's going to be of type brew image. It's going to complain because it says, hey, you're instantiating as null by default. Well, it's not complaining, but what it's going to do is if I do try to use it, it's going to say this thing can be null. Just be careful, right? But that's okay. We're going to do a check. So if we have the image, we want to show the image. If we don't have the image, we want to show the button. So we'll use that brew image and the existence of that brew image for whether or not we show the button or the image. Get what I'm saying? There's another trick we could do here too, which we'll get to. And that's allowing someone to change the image by clicking it again. We'll get to that. But let's start with our brew image. So first, we only want to show this button if we don't have a brew image. Whether or not we want to keep the container, we can figure that out later. If we do, we should change the name. Unless we're just allowing, actually image upload button container might not be the right name, but maybe image upload container is the right name. So let's change that. That'll give us a little more flexibility, and then we can keep the container. We didn't have to change the name. It just makes it a little more friendly to what we're doing. And so here we're going to create a conditional. If not brew image, then we'll render this. So again, very declarative React style here. Otherwise, if we do have a brew image, we can render the actual brew image. So again, what that's going to look like is we pull up that awesome documentation here. I'm just going to copy this. The URI selected image, we're going to change that. Obviously, it's going to be brew image. And then we'll style it. In their case, they're using a standard height. We'll do that. We'll definitely want to do that because we want to contain it. We want to shrink it down. We'll definitely do something like that. But for now, set there, comment that out, and our source is going to be brew image, local URI. All right. It's complaining because I have no idea. Let's see. Image cannot be used as a JSX. Its instance type HTML image element is not a valid JSX element. Missing the following properties. Interesting. Let me see if it's just a matter of fixing it. Let's see what's going on. JSX element class does not support attributes because it doesn't have a props property. Interesting. So I wonder if I have to use, well, let's see. Is missing the following properties. 3 more. And it says, width is optional. I wonder what's complaining about. Let's see if we do width equals 300, height equals 300. I'm not totally sure what it's complaining about. Let's try this. Let's modify. Oh, you know what it is? We didn't import image. I'm very weirded out by that message though. I wish it was more informative, but I bet that's what it is. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Super weird. You'd think it would just say it didn't import it. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. That's odd. Not sure why that was happening. Not cool. Oh, look. What's going on here? Oh. Components themed. What is this? We don't want components themed. Yeah, we just want to pull this from React Native. I don't know why it's pulling views from components themed. We should look into that. We'll look in that in a second. Let me just paste image here. Let me see what that's about. Components themed. Okay, it's like passing the themes to our components. Interesting. We're not going to get too much into this. We'll import from here for now. That's fine, but I'm not really using this right now, so no need to worry about that. All right, so we have our image. Very good, very good. And what we're doing is, again, if we have the brew image, we're showing it. If not, we'll show the add brew. But we need to make sure that we're actually setting this brew image. So what we'll do is here in our handle upload, when we get the picker, we will say set brew image, and we'll set it to width. So we can actually pull out, we could do width is picker results dot width. Height is picker results dot height. And URI, or in our case, local URI is picker results dot URI, I believe. Yes. And so one thing we could do is we could have destructured this. So let's do that. So we could say width, height, URI. Then we can get rid of this. And so the reason it's complaining is because we need to specify what this will return. So here it's saying property URI does not exist on type image picker result. Height does not exist on type image picker result. And that's probably because it's nested. Actually, no, I don't know. Image picker returns image picker result. Can we inspect that type? How can I see? I want to see the type of image picker result. Interesting. Let's take a look at this just so we can figure out what the type is here. Image picker result type script React. Let's just put Expo. Let's kind of give a search for this. All right, let's see. Okay. Bug in Visual Code, not Expo image picker when you run yarn. It compiles. Interesting. Issue with Visual Studio Code. Interesting. Okay. Well, one thing we can do is we can say, I don't like having that there, so we could just avoid the destructuring, but let's see if it'll actually compile, and if it can, then we'll use that. Let's see what happens. Here's our page. I'm just going to refresh it. Awesome. All right. So we're going to go to Add Brew, upload an image, pick one from the camera, pick this nice palm tree image. Uh-oh. Nothing showed up. Let's take a look at why. Probably because we need to put a height and a width. In fact, I'm almost positive that's what it is. So if we go here, we saw that they were doing it like this. We'll do the same thing. We'll copy that. We'll even call it, instead of thumbnail, we'll call it brew image, and we'll put it right over here on our image. Style equals styles dot brew image. And let's see what that looks like. Oh, very cool. So there's our image. Nice. That's awesome. So we now have image upload. It's very cool. I think it's pretty sweet. Whether or not we're going to allow them to upload square images or blah, blah, I think for now, just let them upload any image. We're not Instagram. We're not restricting. All right. Starting out small. But there you go. Awesome image upload. Let's go back and try that again and see what it looks like. So I'm going to refresh, see exactly what this looks like. So we have our screen. We go to Add Brew. Click that. I'm going to click a different picture this time. Let's go with this nice one here. And bam, there it is. Awesome. You could saw it took a little time to load, so maybe we show a loader. Again, that picking the image is async, so maybe we show a loader while it's loading. Let's do that. It's probably pretty easy, so I wouldn't worry too much. So what we'll do is we can make our own loader. We can have like a spinner, or we can use one of the built-in ones. I'll show you what that looks like. I think it's called activity indicator. Okay, so here's the activity indicator. I hope they have a picture of it, but if not, it's okay. It's kind of that indicator that you would see in like, on iOS, it's like a sun or whatever, and then on Android, it's kind of just like a spinny. Let's try it out. Let's pull it in and see what it looks like. So yeah, what do y'all think about that awesome, easy image upload? How easy is that? Super cool. Pretty excited about that. So there's our activity indicator. And the way that we use it is, it's in a view. We have a color, a size. Let's go with large, and let's just put it in our view here. A lot of good copy and pasting happening today. This is great. And so again, we don't want to, it's conditional. We want to do it if it's loading, like brew image is loading or something. So what we'll do is we'll say brew image loading and we'll have to define brew image loading. So let's do that. So again, this is going to be part of our component state. So we will say brew image loading and we'll modify it. Now, there's something unique about this. So we have two dependent states, right? Our brew image, our set brew image. And when we call set brew image, it should modify our brew image, but now it's also going to have to set the loading to false. Or we can make it, just have our conditional use both. Like if the brew image is available, show it, otherwise show the loading. We can easily solve this. We could either, instead of using state, we could use like some sort of state that has both the brew image and is loading. But what we'll do is we'll just make it pretty simple and easy. We'll just have a separate piece of state for this for now. So what we'll do is we'll have const brew image loading, set brew image loading, and we'll start it out as false. And then what we'll do is instead of calling set brew image, we'll modify it so that we call a function that will handle both the loading and the not loading. Or we can just call the set unloading right here. Either way should work. I think what we'll do is here we'll call set brew image, and then we'll call set brew image loading to false. We'll have to make sure to set it to true when we actually start handling this. So for that, what we'll do is we'll set it to true here when we try to handle this async stuff. So we'll set it to true. Set brew image loading to true. All right. And again, we can abstract this into another function, or we can make it like a side effector. If we were using context, or if we put this stuff into recoil for some reason, we could use a selector. A few different ways to do this, but let's try this out and see what this looks like. There's our activity indicator. You can see it's showing right now because down here we need to put our conditional. So there's brew image loading, use state set to false. We have it as string false. That's wrong. We want it to be a Boolean. My mistake. Obviously, a string false is truthy. I don't know why I did that. Okay. So there's our upload button. There was our activity indicator. You could see it there. Camera roll. There it is. And there's the image. We actually want it to appear, though, on top of that, where that image button was. So what we'll do is we'll say not brew image and not brew image loading. Then we'll show the button. So let's refresh that and see what that looks like. All right, so here we go. We're gonna click our add brew. We're gonna click the button, activity indicator. You can see it happening behind there. We're gonna go ahead and pick an image. We'll try a different one this time. We'll go with this flowers one. There's our activity indicator, and there's our image. Obviously, it's a little bit weird. It's like sitting up high. We can lower that a little bit. That's easy. Let's just let's tackle that because it'll be pretty easy. So for that, we'll just throw a view on top of this. We'll call it activity indicator container. We can also call it loader container, just be more explicit. And so all we need to do is have a height and a width there. So what we'll do is we'll just have kind of like, if you look at our image upload container, it has like this natural padding. We'll kind of, and you see our upload button is 240, 240. So let's copy this so we can have like a similar size, and then we'll just position it in the middle. So we'll go like this, and then we'll say justify content center, align items center. And now for a larger project, if you find yourself doing this a lot, justify content center, align item center. What you can actually do is create something called layout components where you can repurpose the styling. And so you can have something like a stack or a centered view or a box and have some default stuff. Obviously, this is just a quick hack. We're kind of just messing around. So for now, we'll just duplicate the effort. But something to think about if you are building an app like this, you can easily reuse this stuff. They're just objects. So you can extend them just like you would objects. As long as you're passing it to your style sheet, it can be whatever you need it to be, as long as they have valid CSS property names. Okay, so there, it was right in the center. Great. You'll see it again in a second. Let me load up this image. This looks kind of cool. We haven't used this one yet. And there's your activity indicator, and bam, there's the loader. Now the color's kind of wacky, right? It doesn't match. Easy change. Again, easy fix. All we have to do is change our color. We're going to pull right from our color themes. So for that, we're going to say, remember that orange color that we're using for the bottom nav? Let's add that to our color constants, and we can pull it in. So we'll go to colors, and let me pull in it was in our bottom tab navigator. We had header style. This color is the yellow. And then for the bottom tab, we had this orange color here. This color. We're going to steal this. And we'll just call it brand orange. We're not a brand, but whatever. Sounds cool, right? Brand orange. And then what we'll do is let's call this orange. We can call it brand orange down here. So light, we'll say brand orange. And we'll use the same thing for dark. Although, again, we're not using the dark theme yet. We should try that. Maybe that'll be a cool thing to get into in one of these sessions. So definitely down to try that. All right, so let's use that here. Color scheme dot brand orange, and let's also use it here. Colors dot color scheme. Again, we want to make it dynamic, so we're doing it in case we ever do change to use the themes. There's our brand orange. What is it complaining about? Cannot find name styles. What did I do? I accidentally got rid of those. All right, let's see what that looks like. There's our splash screen, image upload, bam, orange activity indicator. Look how easy. Let's go. All right, let's pick an image. Let's go with this one. We haven't used this one yet. Very cool. Okay. Yo. It's pretty cool. I think it's pretty cool. Look how easy image upload was. We did it in what? Half hour? And that's moving pretty slow, like I'm going. But really, thank you, Expo docs. These were great, right? I mean, they literally walk you through everything. It's so fantastic. All right, let's get on to adding that image to our brew model. Again, if we have it in the model, we'll be able to show it on our brew screen. Sounds like blue screen, but brew screen. Okay, so let's do that. So again, our goal is to show it here, right? That'd be pretty cool. So what does that mean? There's a few steps. Let's walk through the steps real quick. So step one, right? We'll want to take that URI, and when we hit save brew, we want to make that part of our persisted brew, like the brew atom. So that means we're going to modify our brew atom to support the URI, or in this case, the brew image. We made the type, if you remember right here, if I scroll up, we created that brew image type right here. We're going to want to move this type to somewhere where we can use it for our atom and that we can reference it. So we'll probably move it out of this component. So our brew type is going to change. It's going to include the brew image. Our atom that uses that brew type is going to change. Our save button's now going to have to handle saving that to the brew. And then what we'll do is in our brew list, we'll pull out that image and render it. And we'll figure out how to style it with the circle. We'll probably set it like as a background image. We'll get there, but that's the basic idea. So let's jump in and figure that out. All right, so first things first, let's take a look at our add brews and what happens when we save that brew. So when we actually save that brew, right now we're calling this add brew, and it calls this handle add brew function. And what this does is it takes the information from our inputs and applies them to this new brew. So it creates a new brew object with the brew name, the brewery, and it's pulling these from the state, right? Because when we modify those inputs, we're modifying state. It's defaulting to a rating of 0 because we haven't implemented that yet. And it's pulling the style from the input. We'll also want to pull the brew image here. Now, once I do this, it's going to complain because it's going to change my brew type. But let's just see. Okay, so we added the brew image. Now, down here, we have our brew ID, which is generated. This is generated based on our brew name and our brewery. We can make it a unique ID later. For now, this is fine. Then we add it to our list of brews, and we call the set brew list function on it. Now you can see here, new brew, it's saying it's of type, this type. Had I gotten rid of this, you can see it's changing the type. What we'll want to say is that this new brew is of type brew to make sure we're getting type safety. Because you see right now I changed that, we're not getting the safety. So let's see if we can get that to work first. So if we specify that new brew is of type brew, And it says auto imports it for me. So if we look at where it did that, import brew from brew list state. If I pull up brew list state, there's our type brew. Now, one thing you'll see is we'll have types in components, we'll have types in our atoms. One thing we could do is if we're reusing types, which we should be, right? If we're designing our app in a domain-specific way using domain-driven design or speaking in the language of the domain, you end up sharing these types, and that's great. If we're talking about beers, we're sharing the brew type. If we're talking about a list of brews, we're sharing a list or an array of the type brew. A brew image, if we're sharing that around or talking about that, we should be using the shared domain language of our application. And so putting these types in a common place where everyone can import them is going to be really beneficial for us. The downside is sometimes it's kind of annoying to not be able to see the type next to your where you're using it, but VS Code has some awesome IntelliSense and some suggestions that can kind of mitigate that, and we'll tell you what the type is. So we're going to do that at some point. We're going to move out our brews, but for now, let's leave it here. It's going to work for the time being, and when we move our brew image, we'll put it all in this brew list state, and then eventually move it out to a common place. And you can already see it's kind of smart, right? VS Code knew where it came from and imported it for us, so that's fantastic. Okay, so you can see here our brew. It knows that this is of type brew. Everything still works, but now let me go ahead and add brew image. And now it's complaining. It's like, yo, boss, you trying to add brew image that's not supported. We don't know what that is. So I don't know what accent that is. So we're going to go ahead and modify this type to better support that. So let's do that. All right. So we're going to modify this type here, and we're going to add support for a brew image. But again, that was defined up here. So we're going to pull this out, put it in here, make it exportable so we can import it from other places if we need to. And we're going to add here brew image, and it's of type brew image. Bam. So here, you'll see that brew map is supposed to be a type brew map, which is supposed to have a brew as its thing, but they're all missing the brew image, which makes sense. I didn't put an image for them. So what I can do is I can modify these to all include a brew image, or I can make the brew image optional. Now it won't complain, and it's optional, which makes sense. You might not have an image for everything. We shouldn't make it mandatory. So we'll make it optional. And that's what the question mark did, and now you can see we're all good to go. Okay, so back to our page here. Now, we have our brew image right there. And we have our new brew that's now containing that brew image. None of these have brew images. And we're setting our brew list with that, so it should just work out of the box, right? Like we have our brew, we're setting the list. It should work right out of the box because we are dynamically setting these atoms. So now what we need to do is actually use that brew image on the list side of things. So let's take a look at our brew list. And then we'll debug and see that everything is being set properly. Okay, so let's go over to our brew list. And our brew list, if everyone remembers, renders a bunch of brew items. It does that by using flat list, which is an awesome built-in list that handles rendering long lists in a very efficient way. Gotta get my seltzer, man. Let's go. Okay, so we render a brew item and we pass it the brew ID, the name, the brewery, the style, or the rating. Well, what do you think we're gonna do? We're also gonna pass it the brew image. Again, it's optional, so its actual type is brew image or null is actually the type of this. Oh, what up? GR Ferrier, thank you for the follow. Appreciate it. Hope you're enjoying the stream. How do we pronounce that? Grafferrier. Interesting. How's it going? Glad to have you here. Okay, so we're passing our brew image to brew item, and you can see right away brew item is complaining that it doesn't know about this type. From Brazil, awesome. Yes, we got a little international stream going. Well, happy to have you. Thank you for stopping by, and hope you're enjoying the stream. If you missed a little in the beginning, you can catch up. All of this stuff gets posted on YouTube, so check it out. All right, so we have the brew image here. It's saying, hey, we don't know about this type. That's because we need to modify our brew item to support that type. So let's pull that up. So you can see our brew item supports these brew item props. Well, look, these are pretty close to our brew, right? Check this out. If we look at our brew list state, the difference is these ones have a brew ID. So we could break this down and say we have a brew ID and a brew. And maybe we'll do that at some point. But for now, let's just add our brew image. And we can actually say that this is of type brew image. And we can import that from brew list state. So let's do that. And you'll see here, I click that. And we'll have to import it. So we'll import brew image from where is brew list state? Brew list state is inside. Brew list state is inside Adam's brew list state. Okay, so I think we got to go up a level. Nope. Adam's brew list state. All right, so there's our brew image type. And then what is this saying here? This is saying brew list has no exported member brew. We need to import brew from brew list instead. Let's fix that. So this is the type. We can actually import that from here. All right, awesome. So now we have our brew image. We're saying it's of type brew image. And we'll pull it out here as well in our destructuring. So now we're going to have that image. We have this default state here. We're going to pull in the brew image here as well. And now we're going to want to render that image. So again, what we're doing here is, if you remember, we have this brew and the set brew item. That was for when we modify it with our rating update. But what we want to do down here is actually style the component. If you remember, we put zip brew item. Zip it. First homebrew I'm gonna make when I make beer, zip brew item. Nice, dude, that's awesome. So what we're gonna do here is, yeah, I think homebrewing is something I definitely want to get into. So yeah, brew item, classic name. So what we're going to do is, we already have the image. Now we just need to put the URI from our brew image here. So let's just try putting it and see what happens, and then we'll modify the styling later. So to do that, we're going to say source. And actually, if you notice this, it's complaining. It's because it's like, hey, you don't have a source. Source is missing. So we're going to give it a source. So our source in this case is going to be equal to our URI. And we'll want to do this only if there is an image. So basically, we can put this inside a conditional. We'll do that in a second. But basically what we do here is brew image dot local URI. And this actually has to go inside an object. That's the way that our source works for images. And so basically, if there's no image, it'll default to not having an image. And if there is, it'll have our URI. So let's look at what that looks like. Undefined is not an object because, again, this is optional. So what we can do is we can put a question mark. That's called optional chaining. Some of you may not be familiar with it, but it's a new feature. It's equivalent to doing brew image question mark or brew image end brew image.local URI. It basically checks the existence of this before trying to access this. And there you'll see no images, no images, no images, because again, we haven't created any with an image. Let's see if it works. We're going to go to our add brew name. I'm going to go with Brooklyn Summer because my boy Doze in the chat posted that, so let's go with that. Summer Ale. Brewery is Brooklyn. Classic. If you haven't tried Brooklyn Summer Ale, woo, during these hot days, perfect. Crispy boy. It's a good crispy boy. Woo, super crisp, we called it. It is a summer ale. I think the actual style is it's a lager, but I think it's an ale. Let's just go with summer ale. And then for the image, I don't have a picture of it. Yo, let's get real with it, right? Let's get a picture of it. Who are we kidding? We're not gonna upload some picture of like some. Come on, who am I? Let's get a picture of it. Oh, look, we have to fix that state if we cancel. You text me a pic. Yeah, I don't think I'll be able to text my simulator. So check it out. We'll go up here. We'll yeah. If you send it, I don't know how I'd get it on the simulator, but let me just do a search for it. Let me do a search for it. Brooklyn Summer Ale. Isn't this simulator cool? This is the only iPhone I use. I don't use. I'm an Android person. There we go. Brooklyn Summer. Look at that. Let's get a pic here. We're gonna download it. Look at this. Who took this one? This is a crispy pic. Ooh, drizzly. All right, let's click this. Let's save this. How do we save it? I'm just holding down the mouse. I think that's how you do it. Bam. Let's go. All right. All right. We are ready. We are ready. So to get back in to my app. Yeah, for the simulator. Yeah, I need a pic for. You can send one to my phone too. You send one. I'll show it. I'll show it. So I'm going to refresh because that's the state we're going to have to handle when you cancel. We need to make sure we handle that. Ah, that could work. That could work too. But yeah, I don't know how I get in the simulator. We could try with the web version. Okay, so the brew name is Summer Ale. The brewery is Brooklyn. And the style is Summer Ale. I confirmed while I was Googling it. And now let's see if we can pull up that image. Whew. We're doing it right. No half measures here. We're doing it for real. You understand? Let's go. Look at that. Wow. All right, ready? Moment of truth. I don't know what happened to my save button here. The text is gone. But let's see if it works. Look at that. Look at that. Bam. Image uploaded, shown. Sweet. That's awesome. Let's go. Yeah, let's go. Thanks everyone for being here. I'm super psyched that we got this going. I'm glad it worked. If it didn't work, I would have been like, let's debug it. Which happens. We have to debug sometimes. But this is cool. I hope you think it's as cool as I think it is. We got an image there. Let's do something cool with this. Let's clear out these empty ones. And what I want to do is I want to reset the storage on this device because I've added some of these just as we were testing, and I kind of want to clear those out. But first, before we get into that, I want to handle that error state. So this is part of developing, right? You come across something and you see there's a bug. You make a ticket, you fix it later. We're going to fix it right now. So the bug I'm talking about is, well, here, this is another one, right? Look, we cleared out the form, but we didn't clear out the image. So let's handle two things. All right, so we're going to handle two things. Thing one, we want to clear out that image. Where is it? We want to clear out this image here when you go back to the form. So when you're here, you're on the brew screen, and you go back to here, we need to clear out that image because you can see the form there is clear. Second bug, when you go to upload an image, you hit cancel, which I'll show you in a second. So we're going to pull up the image. Go here, we hit here. When I click this, and now I click cancel up here in the top, it shows the activity indicator and no image because we never actually upload the image. So we want to make sure that we go back to showing the image upload if that's the case. It does look refreshing. I might have to grab one after this. I don't know. If I grab one of those, I might have to play Valorant. You know what I'm saying? I won't stream it, though. I'm not good enough. All right, so let's try that. So first, again, let's first handle clearing the form. That's pretty simple. So to do that, let me pull this over here. So if any of you are ever trying to drag the simulator around and you're like, why can't I drag it? You have to drag it by this little thing. Just a tidbit. I don't know. Thought that was interesting. All right, so let's clear out the form. So how do we clear out the form, you might ask? Also, if you notice here, our brew image is still complaining. That's because I actually don't know why it's still complaining. It shouldn't be complaining anymore. I think if I just close this out, maybe. It really shouldn't complain. Yeah, oh, what is it? Let's see. This is what I was talking about. it's not assignable to type brew image because it could be undefined. We need to specify that it's optional. See what I'm saying? Okay, so let's clear it out. So what happens when we clear it out? Well, in our add brew screen, when we submit, so also that text was messed up. Remember that? Our add brew text wasn't appearing. So styles button text, we need to give it some font color. I think it's just color. Why is the font color not showing up? Let's look at, so we can actually inspect it. Let's see, why is that not showing up? Let me try changing the color to something and seeing what happens. Let's just go with 666. Number of the beast. Coincidence that it's a really good text color? No, not a coincidence. All right, so we're gonna hide that. Let's see. Why is it not? Let me see what's going on there. Oh, you know what? Actually, I'm not sure. Button text button. I don't know why that's not appearing. Super weird. Yeah, I really don't know. It should be. Let me refresh. I just don't get it. It's so weird. Is it appearing on web? Also, we didn't test web. We got to test to see if web worked. So it's appearing on web. That's weird. All right, we'll dive into that in a minute. I wonder if we should test this on web to see if our image upload works on web too. It looks like some stuff's broken, so we'll want to fix that. But yeah, like nothing's. Oh, you know what? It's because this hasn't compiled in a while. That's why. All right, well, we'll figure that out. But for now, let's solve the clearing problem. So again, when you click Add Brew, it clears inputs. It calls a clear input function. We just need to clear out that brew image. So here we'll just call set brew image. We'll want to set the brew image to nothing. So you can basically, you have to pass it something, so we'll just say null, which is okay. We just have to make sure that it knows that it can be null or undefined. So we can also just send undefined. Usually we don't want to pass undefined, so we'll say null is just a better way to do it. So null, and here we should specify that it can be null, and to do that you just say or null. Let's see what it's saying. Oh, it's because we moved brew image, so we need to import it. That's all that's saying. So maybe I can actually probably get away with just this. So to import brew image, I'm going to import that from brew list state, brew. It was one of the types we moved. Okay. And here it's saying, it says, it's not assignable to type brew image or undefined. So here we say undefined. Okay. Now, we could also have said and pass null, which is a little bit better, I think, than using undefined and passing around undefined. So let's do that. I just like it better than passing around undefined. I'm not a fan of null because I don't know. I think it's weird functional programming, but I like it. I don't like passing undefined. It feels weird. I don't mind passing null. All right, so let's see where we're at. We got a half hour left. Good. Okay, so that'll clear that, but we also want to clear the loading indicator. Make sure that we reset that to a state. So for that, we'll say set. What is it? Set brew image loading, and we'll set that to false. Okay, so that should handle clearing the input. Now, what we'll want to do is handle that cancel scenario. So in this case, what is this saying? So it's saying brew image null is not assignable type brew image undefined. Okay, so there is an issue there. So I guess we will have to go with the old. I guess we have to go with undefined, just so we don't have to deal with that, because I don't want to change it everywhere. Not worth it. There we go. Sometimes you got to appease the compiler. Okay, so when I hit cancel, let's see what happens. So let's go to our handle image upload. First things first, we show the loader. Then we launch the library. If it's canceled, we won't get these. We'll get canceled, I believe. And I can actually verify that by looking here at the image picker. So if you look at the return type, a lot of options. Very cool. Where is the example where they have an example? Where's the example from before? Image, picking an image. Okay, here. So in this example, they have the options, and what do they get from the options? It logs it here. They have the same images as me because they're using the same simulator. Okay, so it has canceled, false. Okay, so we want to take canceled as an action here. And if it's canceled, well, if it's canceled, we want to just go back to the normal state. So let's do a check. If canceled, then, well, what we'll do is we won't set the brew image. We will set brew image loading to false because we want to cancel the loading and go back to what we had. So we will just say, we only want to do this if it's not canceled. So what we'll do is we'll put this here. All right, let's try that new flow. So first, if anyone in the chat wants to give me another beer, I will download the image of that beer and we will test this again. Let's go with, oh, what did I do here? Let's go with, what do we have in here? I'm going to go with Victory Summer, the other one that I really liked. So let's do a search for that. Yingling. I actually don't mind a Ying every once in a while. I really don't. All right, so let's go with Victory Summer. Yeah, it's summer. Why am I keep opening the wrong thing? I actually need to search for it in here. Let's go here. Ying. Ying's not bad though. Victory Summer. Yeah, Summer Love, that's the one. Great beer. All right, let's go with a picture like, ooh, that's nice. Let's go with this one because you can see with the glass. I like that. Looks like the new label too. Nice. All right, so I'm gonna save that. I'm gonna go back to Expo and we're gonna test out the cancel and all those flows and stuff. And we wanna make sure this can't happen. We should never add a brew that's empty. Okay, so brew name is Summer Love. Brewery is Victory. And the style is Summer Ale as well. All right, so I'm gonna cancel and we're gonna test that actually works. Okay, so that worked. We hit cancel and it went back to the image upload. So now I'm gonna actually pick that image. There's our image. I'm gonna save it. There we go. There's Summer Love. Another thing I just thought of, after we add the image, we probably want to scroll this list to the bottom. So I'll show how to do that as well, because that's going to be super useful. All right. So there we go. Summer Love. Awesome. We got the name. We got the thing. So that works. And bam, our form is cleared. So both those bugs now fixed. And now we can figure out what's going on with our button name here, why it's not showing up. So let's try to figure that out. So we have, if I use the inspector here, it's not that great at styling. I need to like view more. But so if we look here, you can see The button content wrapper. I want to see the styling though. I see overflow hidden. That's not useful. Content wrapper, base button. I want like the text in the middle. That's what I actually want. Touchables, what's that? Okay. Let's look at inspect. Okay, let's do this. Let's take a look at our text and see what's going on. So we have this text here inside this touchable highlight. The text is add brew. Its style is using button text. Button text is down here. We have a font size and a color. Is it color not the right thing? I forget now. Maybe it's font color. It should just be color. I feel like I've done this before where I've forgotten. It should just be color. Font. Style, font family. It really should just be color. Let's see if we can add something else to even see if it's taking any of our styling. So I want to see what's going on here. Okay, so that worked. Ooh, look at that. Something's going down. Look, you can see the blue. Oh, it's really small. Why is it so small? What happens if I... Oh, is it because the padding is so big? Let's see. Okay, maybe it's because the height of the button's small. Let's see. Let's try to change it. Let's get rid of the font size, see what happens. Okay, so that makes it smaller. Let's add a height and width instead of massive amounts of padding. So let's do height and width. Yikes. Well, that's very small. Let's try 240. Interesting. What is going on here? Where is that? So that's being applied to touchable highlight button. So weird. Okay, let's do this. Let's figure out. Yes, something's very wrong with this. I'm wondering if it has to do with the flex 1 that's being applied to it. Let's see something. Okay, that's what it was. It's inside a container, and the container probably doesn't have set styling, so it was getting ruined by that flex 1. So let's go back to what we had. Padding, font size, get rid of this, and just get rid of that flex 1. There we go. And that padding's pretty crazy, but let's just leave it for now. And so the other thing I want to do is I wanted to see what happens on web. We didn't get to test whether or not the image upload worked on web, so I want to check that out. Yo, it'd be pretty sick if it let us do that. I don't think it will, but I want to be cautiously optimistic. So what I want to do is I want to go here, close this, close, leave this, open this, close that. So it's going to open the web browser. So let's see. It would be sick if it opens the file uploader and lets me upload an image from my computer. I'm going to be very impressed. And if not the end of the world. All we do then is we do a file check. We look at the platform. If it's iOS, we do one thing. If it's web, we do a different thing. But let's see. So far, so good. Icons are looking good. Headers looking good. It's there. What is it? Yo. Look at this. Look at this. Opens up my file thing. All right, here. Whatever. I'll give you all a glimpse into my pictures. Let's see what we got. With pictures. What do we got? What do we got? What do we got? A wallpaper. Terminal backgrounds. Let's pull in one of my terminal backgrounds. No, you know what? Let's let's pull one of those images that we want from the web. Let's upload a beer. So I hit cancel. So that's interesting. Cancel didn't work here. So that's something worth noting. Let's see if I refresh. So that's interesting to know. Cancel didn't work in this scenario, but it did work on web. So let's add a new beer. All right. I'm going to go ahead and search for a good beer. I'm going to pull up. Let's see. Let me think. I got one. It's the beer I ordered. It's on its way to me, and I want to drink it, so I'm going to upload it. Monomyth. Let's download that. Save image as. Let's save it onto our desktop for now. We'll call it Monomyth. It's a sour double IPA from Hudson Valley Brewing. If you haven't had anything from them, they are fantastic. All right, so let's do it. Monomyth Brewery, Hudson Valley Brewing. Style is sour D double IPA. Let's add the image. Let's see. Desktop. Man, I'm very impressed. Very impressed by this. This is brilliant. I'm so glad it works. Whoa, come on. Yes, it works. Even on web. This is so cool. It's one API. Come on. Great work by this team. I mean, implementing something like this, just awesome. So I'm going to hit add brew. And bam. There's Monomyth. Look at that. Look at that. Very cool. Very cool that we can just use that same image picker API and it works for web and native. I mean, that is phenomenal. I'm super impressed by that. Okay, so I mentioned before I want to clear out some of these. I also want to make sure that you can't add an empty brew. So this is classic form validation. No one's favorite thing, but for us it's very easy. We just have to make sure that you have the mandatory fields, and if not, we let you know. We can let you know a few ways. We can, like have the input that requires validation, have we can use a form library. So we could pull in React form hooks and it will give us some hooks to hook into showing errors and inputs. We could do that. I think that might be overkill. Let's just disable the button until they've entered everything. I know it's not great for the user, but again, this is just for fun. This is just playing around. We're not, sorry about that, releasing this. I mean, it's got image picker, works on web and native. Maybe we will release it. Who knows? All right, but let's see. Let's just add a check to make sure you can't add nothing. So to do that, what we'll do is, again, just disable the button until the things are ready. So for that, I believe we can just use disabled. Disabled equals, and we set it equal to something. And so what we'll set it equal to is a result of checking our inputs. And so the way we can do that is we can say up here before our render, create a constant, button enabled, and button enabled will be a check that looks for brew name and brewery and style. For now, just these. Not that. Style. Brew style, do we call it? What do we call it? Style. We just call it style. Relax. Style. And so it'll just be an accumulation of whether or not those things exist. We won't check for brew image. We don't need to make that mandatory. And we will say disabled is equal to not button enabled. Kind of awkward, but I don't think there's an enabled. I think there's only a disabled. Let's find out. Let's not be silly. Let's just look it up. That's what the internet's for. Touchable highlights. touchable highlights. Disabled. All right, let's see what the props are. Inherits touchable feedback props. Disabled. Do they have an enabled? Enabled. No. Okay, so we'll go with that. Let's take a look. There's our brew. It's disabled. Can't click it. Doesn't visually look disabled. I mean, it kind of does, right? Kind of looks pretty crappy. We'll make it better. But I can't click it, which is the important thing. Now, if I were to type something here, test, 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 and whatever, then I can add it. Great, so it's there. We probably at some point want a way to delete these, but for now we're going to delete them ourselves. We're just going to manually go in and delete them. So there's a few ways to do that. Again, this is persisted on the device storage. So one way we can do that is we can, let's see, we should be able to go in here and manually get rid of some of this data. So if we do this, it's going to be there. So what we want to do is we should be able to, I believe, just if we delete it from Expo, maybe it'll get rid of it. Let's try it out. I don't really remember. We'll find out. So yeah, hoping everyone is enjoying watching us set up this image picker. I think it's pretty cool. I'm excited to see where it goes. Okay, so I cleared that out. Okay, let's try again. Let's see if it, I don't know if that'll actually clear the data. Let's find out. Let's run on iOS. Let's see what happens here. So here you can see it shows the web bundler and the iPhone bundler. If you hit this, it's pretty cool. I mean, Expo, man, it's come so far. It's such a great thing. So it did not get rid of it. So how we could get rid of it? Let's find out. How to remove? Well, we can do it through code. We can call async storage remove item, but Expo app storage. On Android, you can touch the app name in the Expo notification, then do a clear data. You can put async clear in your app, and when you reload the app, all the data will be deleted. Okay, you can do that. Okay, let's do that for now, and then we'll just put it there for right now just to clear it out. So what I'll do is in our brew list, which I believe is where we're doing this, we're actually pulling from, yeah, get persisted data. So we have this persisted state. What I'll just do right here is I'll just call async storage.clear, and it'll clear it when we first load. Perfect. Okay, I'm going to delete that because I don't want it to do that anymore, and I want to just have it do it for the web. Okay, so we're clear there. I'm going to remove the defaults. Get rid of these. And let's see what happens when our app loads now. We have an empty list. So what we might want to do here is show a message. You haven't added any brews yet. Please add some brews. That's easy. Let's do that. So in our brew list, we have brews. We only want to show the list when there's brews. So we say brews.length. Like, actually, so in this case, brews, don't forget, brews is an object. So we're actually looking at data where we've mapped it. So we'll do data.length, and render the flat list. Okay. Otherwise, there's no data, or not data.length. So you have to be careful because data.length, we want 0 in this case. It's okay. We want to say if there's nothing, show something. show a message. So data. If there's no data.length, we want to show a message, specifically some kind of text. So we'll say import text, and for our text, we'll say add a brew from the add brew screen, or like your brews, the brews you add will be displayed here. Let's go with that. Try adding your first beer. First brew. Try adding your first brew. And we can style that. So what that's going to look like right now is kind of silly. So it's saying text must be rendered within a text component. Well, it is. All right, let's see. Text strings must be rendered within a text component. That's kind of what I'm doing here. Maybe I have to import text. Yes. So again, weird that it's not showing. Oh, I have text imported. Let's see. Our text is inside this view. Let's give it some style. Maybe it needs some styling. Where is it complaining? It's complaining at brew list 31. 31. So likely data.length and flat list. That's correct. Our view list container. We have our, if there's no data length, render this. Should be correct. Let's try adding some style to this. And we'll call it styles.empty message text. And we'll go down here, empty message text, and we'll say that as a font size of 24, make it pretty big. And we will make it a font color, or sorry, just color of, I'm going to pull in our color scheme here. Let me make sure it's not pulled in already. It is not. So again, I'm just going to pull in these two. And I'm going to say it is of type colors, color scheme. And again, I have to use color scheme to be able to do this. So let me do that here. Color scheme. So it's colors, color scheme. And, oh, you know what? I can't do this because color scheme is not defined here. So I'd have to pass it. I'd have to like do it as part of this or conditionally. So what I can do is conditionally render the color. So there's some use cases of that, I think, in here. Well, here they're actually manually passing it. I might be able to do that. Or I can just say, you know, styles equals style sheet. I can do, I think there's a style sheet like join where you can join two style sheets. I could do it in line. But for now, instead of dealing with that, let's just say it equals, let's go with CCC. All right, let's see. It's still complaining about the text, which is interesting. Let's see why it's complaining. So data.length. So if this has length, show this. Otherwise, show this. What happens if I put this here? Does it want like, I don't know, a string? I don't think so. Text strings must be rendered within a text component. Well, we are doing that. Oh, I wonder if it's complaining about this. Here, let me try taking this out really quick. What I'll do is I'll just comment that out. And let's see. Oh, you know what? I think it might be because if there's no data.length, this will render false, which we don't want. So I think what we have to do is say data.length. I think this is the React Native thing. I think this might be it. Let's see. This might be the case. Yeah. Okay, so that's an interesting thing that React handles that this does not. If your evaluation evaluates to false, it tries to put that into the DOM. React handles this, but React Native explicitly makes you say to return null. So that's what was going on there. So here what we want to do also is, if there's not data.length, render this or render null. We didn't run into this with the image because we didn't really run into a case where that thing was false because we were defining it as an empty state. Like we were defining it as part of state, but this is something that's derived, right? Like the length of data may not be, it may be 0. So there you go. There's that. We should put it in like a view to center it. That'd be kind of nice. So let's just do that really quick. We'll call it styles.empty message container. Again, I like going with the container naming scheme. It just makes things nice and easy. And what we'll do with this one is we'll just make everything centered. So the way we'll do that, I always put the container up top too, is we'll say, we'll give this flex 1. That should make it the full width. And so let's just see what that looks like. Or the full height, sorry. All right, and what we'll do is we will justify content center. That should move the text down, and we'll give it some padding. And we'll make that text much darker. Devil dark. And the text would be cool if it was center aligned, I think. So text align, guessed it, center. Awesome. Cool. So now we have this nice little message. We can add a brew, summer love, brewery is victory, style is summer ale, add a picture. Look at that, camera roll, bam, picture, victory, summer love. We add the brew. It didn't work. This is interesting. It's probably because our brew list is empty now and it's having trouble adding it to the empty list of brews. Let's dive into this. This is super cool. Or it might just be because our brew list failed to re-render as part of this update. The reason that could happen is because our brew list isn't actually, let's see. We have data. Let's see what happens. I bet if we refresh it, it'll be there. Yeah. So let's do this. Let's debug what's happening and see why that wasn't added. And I suspect it has something to do with our brew list. So I'm going to put a debugger statement here. And I'm going to do this on the web side because there I'll have access to the nice debugger. I mean, I could use this debugger, but I like the web one. And because we have no brews yet, so it'll be easy to test. So I put a breakpoint. We go to add brew. I'm just going to say test, 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 add brew. Okay. So data, look at this. It's an array with one entry. So data. Its length is 1, so it should show the flat list. All right, let's see. So it worked there. That's odd. Okay, let's do this. Let's start from scratch here. Let's go to our persisted state. Let's add back in the clear. Let's refresh this. Let's get that thing to clear it out. Let's skip this. All right, that cleared it out. That cleared that out. Let's get rid of our clear. Let's refresh. Start from here. Let's add a brew. Summer Love. Victory. Summer Ale. Nice. Go play some COD. Enjoy those. Thanks for stopping by. I really appreciate it. Thanks for the beer suggestions. Have a good night, man. All right, so it's a Summer Ale. Let's add that image. Camera roll. Bam. Add it. Okay, there we go. It was probably an issue where I had the async clear still there and hadn't refreshed. So there we go. So we added our beer. It's there. Modify our rating from here. Let's add another for fun, see if it works. So with this one, we'll go with the Summer Ale from Brooklyn. The other one we have a picture of. That is also a Summer Ale. It is the summer here in the great New Jersey. That's where I am. Okay, so there's Brooklyn Summer Ale. Add brew. Bam. Awesome. So we're adding these brews. We got our beer. We got our add brew button. We are at time at 11:02. Awesome time. Thank you, everybody, for stopping by. We're going to call it for tonight. I'm going to push this code up to the GitHub repo. Again, my GitHub link is right here. You should see it right there. GitHub, Tom McGurl. On there, you'll find the Brewbook React Native repo. It's fully open source, so pull it down. Give it a shot. I'm going to push the code right after this. Thank you for stopping by, everyone that was in the chat, everyone that stopped by, everyone that even just stopped by to view. I really appreciate it. GR Ferrier for the amazing follow. Thank you so much. I always appreciate it. I'll be uploading this part of the series to YouTube. You can find the other earlier parts there if you want to walk through how we built this app. You can walk through it with, at 1.5 speed, 2.5 speed, whatever is easy for you. Pull down the repo, follow along. If you see something cool, submit a PR. We'll be continuing with this next Tuesday. Again, my schedule is Tuesdays, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Next week, what we'll be doing is modifying that form, adding the rating, and getting it to more of a state where it looks like our design. Ferrier, GR, absolutely always down to share. Thank you so much for stopping by. I really appreciate it. Check out the GitHub repo. I'll post a link if you ever want to pull down the code and just see where we got started. Also, you can watch all the videos on YouTube. Here, I'll put up here. Here's the code. I'll post the link in the chat, and I'll be pushing up the code. Thank you so much for stopping by again. My YouTube name is the same. It's going to be Tom McGurl on YouTube. You'll find videos 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'll be uploading this as well. The first video, the quality was a little rough. Still trying to figure out the stream, but hopefully it got a lot better from there. So yeah, thanks again. After we finish this app, which we'll probably have 1 or 2 more sessions on this app, once we're finished with this, we're going to be doing a few more one-off sessions, starting with creating a profile, like a portfolio page using Gatsby.js. So Gatsby is a new static site generator. It's been around for a year or two now, but really nice static site generator built on React, uses GraphQL. We'll spin up a basic portfolio site and get it deployed and see what that's like. So thanks for stopping by. Really appreciate it. Again, if you like what you're seeing, give it a follow. Check out the YouTube. Follow me on Twitter. And just enjoy your night. And thank you again for stopping by. Take care, everyone. Take care, GR Ferrier. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. Have a good night.